The darkness of space held many secrets, but none as terrible as the Vorthak Empire. For 2,000 years, these creatures had ruled the galaxy with claws and teeth. They stood 12 feet tall, covered in black shell-like skin that could stop most weapons. Their eyes glowed red in the dark, and their breath could melt metal. Every species in the galaxy knew their name and feared it. Commander Tae-min Park stood on the bridge of the human ship New Seoul, looking at the stars through the big window. He was a calm man with sharp eyes and steady hands. Behind him, Dr. So-young Kim worked at her computer, studying the strange signals they had picked up 3 days ago. Captain Dong-Woo Lee sat in his chair, watching the crew work. "Sir, we're getting closer to the signal source," said the pilot. His name was Junho, and his voice shook a little. Everyone on the ship felt nervous. This was humanity's first trip so far from Earth. They were looking for a new home among the stars. Tae-min walked over to So-young's station. "What do you think it is, Doctor?" So-young looked up from her screen. Her face was worried. "The signals are not natural, Commander. Someone made them, but they're unlike anything in our databases. Could be friendly," said Captain Dong-Woo, but his voice didn't sound sure. The ship's alarm started beeping. Red lights flashed everywhere. "Captain," shouted the communications officer. "Big ships coming toward us. Really big ships." On the main screen, dark shapes appeared. The ships looked like giant insects with metal wings. They were 10 times bigger than the New Seoul. Sharp points stuck out from their sides like teeth. The ships moved fast, too fast for something so big. "Open communications," ordered Captain Dong-Woo. He straightened his uniform and walked to the center of the bridge. The screen changed. A terrible face appeared. It looked like a mix between a shark and a spider. Red eyes stared at them. Sharp teeth filled its mouth. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding metal. "Small creatures," the thing said. "You fly in our space. I am War Prime Grixthor of the Vorthak Empire. You will surrender now. Your ship will be ours. Your bodies will feed us." The crew on the bridge went quiet. Some people stepped back from their stations. Tae-min felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. So-young's hands shook as she kept working at her computer. "We are humans from the planet Earth," said Captain Dong-Woo. "We come in peace. We're just looking for a new home." Grixthor made a sound like laughing, but it was full of hate. "Peace? New home? Funny words from food. Every species says the same thing before we eat them. You are the 301st species we have found. All the others are gone now." So-young looked up from her computer. Her eyes were wide. "Captain," she whispered, "I'm reading their database. They've destroyed whole worlds. Billions of people all dead. You have one choice," continued Grixthor. "Turn off your weapons. Open your ship. Let us come inside. If you fight, we will hurt you before we eat you. If you don't fight, death will be quick." Captain Dong-Woo looked around at his crew. Some were young people who had never seen real danger. Others were older, with families back on Earth. All of them looked scared, but they also looked angry. "Commander Park," said the captain quietly. "What do you think?" Tae-min studied the alien ships on the screen. He thought about Earth, far away. He thought about his sister and her children. He thought about all the human colonies being built. "Sir, they expect us to be afraid. They expect us to give up. And maybe it's time they learned something new about humans." Dr. So-young Kim finished reading the alien data. "Captain, their whole society is based on hunting other species. They believe they are the best predators in the galaxy. They've never lost a fight. Never had anyone fight back and win." Captain Dong-Woo nodded slowly. He looked at Grixthor on the screen. The alien was waiting, sure that the humans would surrender like everyone else. "War Prime Grixthor," said the captain. "I have an answer for you. Speak quickly, food. We don't surrender. We adapt." Grixthor's red eyes got brighter. "What did you say?" "You heard me. We're humans. We don't give up. We don't run away. We fight." The alien leader made angry sounds. "Impossible! You are small. You are weak. We are Vorthak. We rule this galaxy." "Maybe. You ruled it yesterday," said Tae-min, stepping forward. But today you met humans. So Young kept reading the alien files. She found something that made her excited. Captain, their technology depends on fear. When other species get scared, they can't think clearly, but if someone stays calm and fights back. Then what, Doctor? Then their advantages start to disappear. Grixthor roared on the screen. Enough! You will learn what happens to food that talks back. The communication ended. The alien ships started moving closer. Their weapons began to glow. But something had changed on the bridge of the new soul. The fear was still there, but now it mixed with something else. Anger, determination, the feeling humans got when someone threatened their family. All crew to battle stations, ordered Captain Dongwu. Send a message to Earth. Tell them what we found out here. Tell them humanity has work to do. Taemin watched the enemy ships approach. He thought about the 300 species that had died before humans arrived. He thought about his people back home living in peace, not knowing about the monsters in the dark. Sir, he said to the captain, permission to show these predators what happens when they hunt the wrong prey. Permission granted, Commander. The battle was about to begin. For the first time in 2,000 years, the Vorthak Empire would face someone who refused to be afraid. They had ruled through terror and strength, but they had never fought humans before. They didn't know that when humans got angry enough, they could be more dangerous than any monster in the dark. The stars watched as two very different kinds of predator prepared to meet. Only one would walk away unchanged. The first shots came like lightning in the dark. Vorthak weapons hit the new soul's shields, making the whole ship shake. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. People held onto their stations as the ship rocked back and forth. Shields down. To 60%, shouted the engineer. Her name was Hana Song, and she was the best at fixing things on the ship. She ran from station to station, checking the damage. Captain Dongwu gripped his chair. Return fire. All weapons. The human ship's guns shot back at the aliens, but the enemy ships were huge and strong. The human weapons barely scratched their dark metal skin. Sir, called the pilot Min Ho-yoon. More ships coming. They're surrounding us. On the screen, Taemin could see 12 Vorthak ships moving in a circle around them. Each ship was like a floating city full of monsters. Their weapons glowed like angry red eyes. They're trying to capture us alive, said Dr. So-young Kim. She was still reading the enemy signals. They want to board our ship. Why? Asked Captain Dongwu. They like to hunt their prey face to face. It's part of their religion. They believe eating afraid enemies makes them stronger. Hanasong looked up from her repair work. Captain, I have an idea. Their ships are built for hunting scared prey. But what if we don't act scared? Before anyone could answer, the ship shook again. This time it was different. Something heavy had hit the side of the ship. They're boarding us, shouted the security chief. His name was Ji-hoon Choi, and he was a former Marine. Cutting through the hull on deck 5. How many? Asked Taemin. Sensors show 20. No, 30 large targets. They're coming fast. Captain Dongwu stood up. All hands, prepare to repel boarders. This is not a drill. Ji-hoon ran toward the door. Sir, permission to show these aliens how humans fight on our own ship. Do it, Major. Make them wish they stayed in space. The crew of the New Soul had trained for many things, but not for fighting 12-foot-tall monsters with claws and acid breath. Still, they were humans. When someone threatened their home, they fought back. The Vorthak expected to find scared people hiding in corners. That's what every other species did. Instead, they found humans waiting for them with weapons and traps. The first group of aliens cut through the hull and jumped inside. They landed in what looked like an empty hallway. Their red eyes looked around for prey to hunt. Where are the small creatures? Growled one Vorthak in their clicking language. Hiding like all the others, answered another. We will find them and make them scream. Then the lights went out. In the dark, the Vorthak heard sounds they didn't understand. Clicking noises, beeping, small movements in the walls and ceiling. They were used to their prey running away in fear. This was different. Something's wrong, said the Vorthak leader. That's when Ji-hoon and his team attacked. The humans had turned, off the main lights, but they wore special glasses that let them see in the dark. They knew every corner of their ship. They moved through air vents and secret passages like ghosts. The first Vorthak didn't know what hit him. A human dropped from the ceiling and shot him with an electric weapon. The big alien fell down, twitching. "Contact!" roared another Vorthak. "The prey fights back." But they couldn't see the humans in the dark. Their red eyes were used to bright light. The humans hit them from all sides, then disappeared before the aliens could fight back. On the bridge, Ha-Na Song watched the battle on her screens. "Captain, I'm learning how their technology works. They use fear to control their computers. When their enemies get scared, it makes their systems stronger." "And when we're not scared?" asked Taemin. "Their systems get confused. Watch this." Hana typed commands on her computer. Suddenly, the Vorthak ships outside stopped shooting. Their weapons turned off. "What did you do?" asked So Young. "I sent them data that says we're enjoying the fight. Their computers don't know how to process that. No species has ever been happy to fight them before." Minho, the pilot, laughed. "Hana, you're a genius. Can you do more damage?" "Give me time. I'm learning their language through their own computers." Down on Deck 5, the fight was getting worse for the Vorthak. These humans didn't fight like other species. Instead of running away, they worked together. Instead of screaming, they talked to each other in calm voices. Instead of begging for mercy, they set traps. Ji-hoon spoke into his radio. "Team 2, drive them toward Section C. Team 3, be ready with the surprise." The Vorthak found themselves being pushed into a large room. They thought they were chasing the humans, but really, the humans were leading them exactly where they wanted them to go. "Finally," growled the Vorthak war leader. "Corner the small prey. Now we feed." But when they entered the room, the door slammed shut behind them. Then gas started filling the air. Not poison gas that would kill them. Sleep gas that would make them unconscious. "Impossible," coughed the Vorthak leader. "Prey doesn't trap hunters." "We're not prey," said Ji-hoon's voice from a speaker in the wall. "We're humans, and you just learned the difference." One by one, the big aliens fell asleep. The first boarding party was captured without any humans getting hurt. On the bridge, everyone cheered, but Taemin looked worried. "There are 11 more ships out there. They won't make the same mistake twice." He was right. War Prime Grixthor's voice came over the communications again. This time he sounded different. Not confident like before, confused and angry. "What kind of creatures are you?" he demanded. "Prey doesn't fight like this. Prey doesn't capture hunters." Captain Dongwu smiled. "We told you. We're humans. Maybe you should have listened. This changes nothing. We are Vorthak. We have conquered 300 species. We will find a way to defeat you." "Good luck with that," said Ha-Na Song. She had been busy while they talked. Now she pressed a button on her console. Suddenly, 2 of the Vorthak ships outside started shooting at each other. Their own weapons turned against them. "What are you doing to our ships?" screamed Grixthor. "Teaching them to think differently," said Hana. "Your computers learn from fear. But what happens when I feed them human emotions instead? Courage, anger, the feeling we get when someone threatens our family?" The Vorthak ships started acting strange. Some flew in circles. Others shot at empty space. Their perfect formation fell apart. Dr. So Young Kim was excited. Their whole empire is built on making others afraid. But humans get stronger when we're angry, not weaker. We're showing their technology something it's never seen before. Minho started flying the new soul in patterns that confused the enemy. He flew between their ships, making them afraid to shoot without hitting each other. He was smaller and faster, like a bee flying around elephants. "This is impossible," came Grixthor's voice. "For 2,000 years we have been the apex predators. We are the strongest, we are the smartest." "You were the strongest," said Taemin. "You were the smartest. But you never learned to fight someone who fights back. You only know how to hunt scared prey." The battle ended when 3 more Vorthak ships crashed into each other, trying to chase the fast human ship. The others flew away, damaged and confused. War Prime Grixthor's face appeared on the screen one last time. His red eyes were wide with something new. Fear. "This isn't over, humans. The Empire will send more ships, bigger ships. We will study you and learn how to defeat you. We'll be waiting, said Captain Dongwu. And we'll be ready. The screen went dark. The Vorthak ships disappeared into space, leaving the humans alone with the stars. In the quiet that followed, the crew realized something important had happened. For the first time in 2,000 years, someone had fought the Vorthak Empire, and won. The galaxy's most feared predators had run away from humans, but Taemin knew this was just the beginning. Word would spread. The Empire would come back with everything they had. The real war was about to start. He looked around at his crew. They were just ordinary people who had done something extraordinary. They had refused to be afraid. They had fought back. They had won. Maybe humans weren't the biggest or strongest species in the galaxy, but today, they had proven something important. Sometimes, the best way to deal with a bully was to punch them in the nose. The predators had met their match. The news traveled fast across the galaxy. For the first time in 2,000 years, someone had fought the Vorthak Empire and lived to tell about it. In hidden places on conquered worlds, surviving members of dead species whispered the word human, like it was magic. On Earth, Admiral Yujin Kang stood in the war room looking at star maps. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around her, the best military minds of humanity planned for war. "How long before they come back?" asked General Hyunwoo Nam. He was a big man with scars on his hands from old battles. "Our computers say 6 months, answered Dr. Seokjin Lim. He was studying the Vorthak data that the new Soul had sent back to Earth. But they won't send just a few ships this time. They'll send everything. Yujin nodded. Then we have 6 months to become something we've never been before. Not explorers, not peaceful colonists, warriors. She pressed a button, and the wall showed pictures of Vorthak ships and weapons. For 2,000 years they've fought scared prey. But humans aren't prey. We're pack hunters. We just forgot how to hunt. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what she meant. Humans had been peaceful for so long that they had forgotten their own nature, but deep inside they were still the species that had once hunted giant animals with nothing but sharp sticks and teamwork. "What do you mean, Admiral?" asked Commander Yoonji Park. She was young but smart, and her job was psychological warfare. "I mean, we stop thinking like victims and start thinking like predators. The Vorthak expect prey behavior, fear, running away, begging for mercy. What if we give them the opposite?" Dr. Seokjin looked up from his data. "The Admiral is right. My studies show that humans have something unique. When we get angry enough, we don't just fight back. We hunt down the thing that threatened us and destroy it completely." 6 months later, the Vorthak came back. This time, War Prime Grixthor brought 50 of the biggest ships in the Empire. Each ship carried 1,000 warriors. It was a force that had destroyed entire solar systems. But when they arrived at human space, they found something unexpected. The humans were waiting for them. Admiral Yujin Kang stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Indomitable. It was smaller than the Vorthak ships, but it was built for war. Around her, 100 human ships moved in perfect formation. "Open communications," she ordered. Grixthor's ugly face appeared on the screen. He looked confident again, sure that his massive fleet would crush the humans. "Small creatures," he said. "You fought well last time, but now you see the true power of the Vorthak Empire. Surrender and your death will be quick." Yujin smiled. It was not a nice smile. "War Prime Grixthor, thank you for coming. We've been waiting to show you something." "Show me what?" "What happens when humans stop being nice?" The battle began, differently than Grixthor expected. Instead of trying to run away or defend themselves, the human ships attacked. Not just 1 or 2 ships, all of them at once, but they didn't attack like other species. They moved like a pack of wolves hunting an elk. Some ships drew the enemy's attention while others flanked from the sides. Some ships pretended to be damaged while others prepared ambushes. Captain Jae-sung-oh commanded a group of small, fast ships. His job was to make the Vorthak angry and confused. He flew his ships right at the biggest enemy vessels, then turned away at the last second, The Vorthak shot at him but hit their own ships instead. "What are they doing?" roared Grixthor. "This is not how prey behaves." His war leaders were just as confused. "Sir, they're not fighting to survive. They're fighting to hurt us." That was exactly right. The humans had learned something important from their first battle. The Vorthak were used to fighting enemies who wanted to escape, but humans didn't want to escape. They wanted to make the Vorthak pay for every ship, every life, every world they had destroyed. Commander Yunji Park had prepared special surprises for the enemy. Her ships broadcast sounds and images designed to confuse Vorthak minds. Instead of screams of fear, they sent recordings of human laughter. Instead of begging for mercy, they sent messages that said, "Come and get us." For creatures whose whole society was based on fear, this was like poison to their thoughts. Dr. Seok Jin had been right about human psychology. As the battle went on, the human crews didn't get tired or scared. They got angrier. Each time a friend died, each time they saw Vorthak weapons destroy a human ship, they fought harder. "Sir," reported one of Yujin's officers, "the enemy is starting to break formation. Some of their ships are pulling back." Yujin watched her displays. The Vorthak had superior weapons and bigger ships, but they were fighting like individual hunters. Humans fought like a pack. Every ship supported every other ship. When one human vessel got in trouble, 3 others came to help. "Send in the wolves," ordered Yujin. That was the code name for humanity's new secret weapon. Ships designed for one purpose: ramming into enemy vessels at maximum speed. The pilots called themselves kamikaze crews, using an old word from Earth's history. Jae-sung's ship was the first to try the new tactic. He aimed his vessel directly at a Vorthak cruiser and pushed his engines to maximum power. "What is that small ship doing?" asked Grixthor's tactical officer. I think it's trying to ram us." "Impossible. No prey would sacrifice itself to hurt the hunter." But Jae-sung's ship smashed into the Vorthak cruiser at incredible speed. The explosion destroyed both vessels, but it also sent a message to every alien in the fleet. Humans would rather die fighting than live as prey. This broke something in the Vorthak mind. For 2,000 years, they had believed that all other species valued their own lives more than anything else. The idea that prey would choose death over surrender was something they couldn't understand. "They're insane," screamed one Vorthak captain. "They're actually insane." More human ships began ramming attacks. But these weren't desperate moves by beaten enemies. They were carefully planned strikes that targeted the most important enemy vessels. Admiral Yujin had studied the Vorthak for months. She knew their weakness. They were individual predators trying to work together, but they didn't really trust each other. When things went wrong, they started blaming each other instead of working as a team. "Target their command ships," she ordered. "Make their leaders afraid." Human weapons began focusing on the vessels that carried Vorthak war leaders. These aliens were used to being safe while their soldiers did the fighting. When they started dying themselves, panic spread through their fleet. "Sir," called one of Grixthor's officers, "we're losing ships faster than we can count them. The humans are targeting our commanders." Grixthor stared at the battle displays. Nothing made sense. The humans should have been destroyed in the first hour. Instead, his mighty fleet was falling apart. "They fight like," he started to say, then stopped. "Like what, sir?" "Like apex predators." The words tasted bitter in his mouth. For 2,000 years, the Vorthak had called themselves the apex predators of the galaxy. But as he watched human ships hunt his vessels with cold efficiency, he realized the truth. They had never met real apex predators before. They had only fought prey animals. Humans were something else entirely. They were pack hunters who had learned to use technology. They were predators who chose when to be predators. And right now, they had chosen to hunt Vorthak. "All ships retreat," ordered Grixthor. "Fall back to the outer system." But the humans didn't let them go. They chased the fleeing Vorthak ships, picking off the slowest ones like wolves hunting deer. They had tasted victory, and they wanted more. When the battle ended, half the Vorthak fleet was destroyed or captured. The rest fled into deep space carrying news that would shake the entire empire. Admiral Yu Jin looked at the wreckage floating around her ship. Human ships were damaged too, and good people had died. But they had won something more important than a battle. They had won respect. "Send a message to all human colonies," she ordered. "Tell them the wolves are awake. Tell them it's time to hunt." Across human space, the message was received with joy and determination. For too long they had been peaceful explorers and builders, but their ancestors had been hunters who conquered an entire planet with primitive weapons. Now they remembered who they really were. The galaxy's apex predators had awakened, and they were very, very angry. 2 years had passed since the first human victory, and the galaxy was no longer the same. The Vorthak Empire, which had ruled for 2,000 years, was falling apart. Species that had hidden for generations began to whisper about freedom. And humans were no longer the peaceful explorers they had once been. General Hyun-woo Nam stood on the command deck of his warship, looking at the planet below. It was called Vorthak 7, and it was one of their military worlds. Big factories on Dao. The surface made weapons and ships for the Empire. Soon, those factories would belong to humans. "Sir," said his aide, Lieutenant Da Yun-chai, "the infiltration teams are in position. We can begin the attack." Hyun-woo nodded. Da-Yun was one of humanity's new weapons, a specialist trained to sneak into enemy territory and cause chaos from the inside. She was small and quiet, but also one of the most dangerous humans alive. "Remember," Hyun-woo said into his radio, "we're not just here to destroy their factories. We're here to send a message. The hunters have become the hunted." On the surface of Vorthak 7, the alien workers went about their daily tasks. They had never seen real war before. For 2,000 years, all fighting had happened in space or on other species' worlds. Vorthak homeworlds were supposed to be safe. Da-Yun and her team had been hiding on the planet for 3 weeks. They looked like Vorthak workers because of special suits that changed their appearance. The aliens never suspected that their enemies could walk among them. "Team 1, ready," whispered Da-Yun into her communicator. "Team 2, ready," came another voice. "Team 3, ready." Da-Yun smiled. "Begin Operation Fang Break." Explosions lit up the night sky. The main weapons factory went up in flames first, then the shipbuilding yards, then the communications center. In minutes, the most important military base in this part of the empire was burning. But the real shock came when the Vorthak tried to fight back. Their computers wouldn't work, their weapons wouldn't fire, their ships wouldn't start. Hana Song's virus had spread through their entire network. Every piece of Vorthak technology was now infected with human ideas. Courage instead of fear, cooperation instead of domination, sacrifice instead of selfishness. "Impossible," roared the base commander. His name was War Leader Krexval, and he had never lost a battle in 300 years. "How did prey animals get inside our most secure facility?" His question was answered when Da-Yun removed her disguise. She stood in the middle of his command center, surrounded by confused aliens who had thought she was one of them. "We're not prey," she said calmly. "We're humans, and you just learned what it feels like to be hunted." Krexval reached for his weapon, but Da-Yun was faster. Her electric gun dropped the big alien before he could move. Around the room, more humans appeared as they removed their disguises. The Vorthak had been completely fooled. "Secure the facility," ordered Da-Yun. "Take all their data. We need to know everything about their empire." In space above the planet, General Hyun-woo watched the operation succeed perfectly. This was the new human way of war, not just fighting with ships and guns, but using intelligence, deception, and psychological warfare. The Vorthak had ruled through fear and strength, but humans ruled through adaptability and teamwork. They could be anyone, anywhere, anytime. They could appear as friends and reveal themselves as enemies. They could think like their opponents and use that knowledge against them. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're getting messages from across the empire. 17 other worlds have fallen to human forces in the last 6 hours. Hyun-woo smiled. Operation Fang Break was happening on 20 different worlds at the same time. While the Vorthak tried to defend one planet, humans attacked 19 others. While they sent reinforcements to the north, humans struck in the south. Any word from the homeworld, he asked. Yes, sir. Admiral Yu-Jin reports that the siege of Vorthak Prime is proceeding as planned. On Vorthak Prime, the capital world of the Empire, War Prime Grixthor sat in his command chamber, staring at reports he couldn't believe. Everywhere he looked, his empire was collapsing. Worlds that had been loyal for centuries were surrendering to humans. His own war leaders were starting to question his orders. Sir, said his aide, a young Vorthak named Zethkor, the human fleet has surrounded our planet. They're demanding our surrender. Grixthor's red eyes glowed with rage. Surrender? I am War Prime of the Vorthak Empire. We do not surrender. But sir, they have cut off all our supply lines. No ships can get in or out. And their transmissions, they're broadcasting something that's affecting our people. Grixthor listened to the human broadcast. Instead of threats or demands, they were playing recordings of Vorthak voices. But these weren't normal voices. They were Vorthak prisoners, speaking freely about what they had learned from humans. I was wrong, said one captured war leader. The humans are not prey. They are pack hunters like we should have been. They work together in ways we never learned. Another voice said, they could have killed us all, but they chose to spare prisoners. They are stronger than us, but also more merciful. I have seen the future, and it belongs to them. These words struck the Vorthak like poison arrows. Their whole society was based on the idea that they were superior to all other species. But here were their own leaders saying that humans were better. Turn it off, roared Grixthor. I can't, sir. They've taken control of our communications. Every Vorthak in the city is hearing this. In the streets of the capital city, ordinary Vorthak citizens listened to the human broadcasts with confusion and fear. For their entire lives, they had been told that their species was the greatest in the galaxy. Now they were learning that they had been beaten by prey animals. Some Vorthak began to wonder if their whole way of life was wrong. Others got angry and wanted to fight harder, but many just felt afraid for the first time in their lives. Admiral Yu-Jin Kang knew exactly what she was doing. She had studied Vorthak psychology for 2 years. She understood that their strength came from believing they were unbeatable. Take away that belief, and their whole society would crumble. Sir, reported Captain Jae-Sung-Oh, we're detecting some kind of civil unrest on the planet's surface. The Vorthak are fighting each other. Yu-Jin nodded. Phase 2 is working. They're starting to blame each other for losing to us. Dr. Seok-Jin Lim had predicted this would happen. Predator species that were used to always winning didn't know how to handle defeat. They would turn on each other instead of working together to solve the problem. Open communications with War Prime Grixthor, ordered Yu-Jin. Grixthor's ugly face appeared on the screen, but he looked different now. Older, tired, afraid. Human Admiral, he said. What do you want? I want you to understand something, Yu-Jin replied. Your empire is finished. Your worlds are surrendering. Your people are questioning everything they believed. You have 2 choices. What choices? Fight us and watch your entire species destroy itself in civil war, or surrender and learn to live in a galaxy where strength means protecting others, not eating them. Grixthor was quiet for a long time. Around him, his command center was falling apart. His officers argued with each other. His computers showed defeat after defeat. His great empire was crumbling like sand. If we surrender, he said finally, what happens to us? You learn to be something better than predators, Yu-Jin answered. You learn to be partners. On planets across the galaxy, news of the conversation spread. Species that had thought they were extinct began to emerge from hiding. Survivors of the Vorthak Holocausts sent messages to the human fleet, offering to help in any way they could. The most important message came from a group of Zephyrians, blue-skinned people whose homeworld had been destroyed 50 years ago. They had been hiding in asteroid fields, slowly starving, waiting for the Vorthak to find and finish them. Humans, said their leader, an old female named Sixara. We offer you our knowledge of Vorthak weaknesses. We have studied them for decades, planning revenge we never thought we could take. We accept your help, Eugen replied, but not for revenge. For justice. The difference between those two words was important. Revenge meant destroying the Vorthak completely. Justice meant making them pay for their crimes, but also giving them a chance to become better. As human ships surrounded Vorthak Prime, other species began to join them. Not as servants or allies, but as partners in building something new. A galaxy where the strong protected the weak instead of eating them. War Prime Grixthor looked at his displays one last time. His empire was gone. His people were divided. His enemies offered him mercy he had never shown to others. For the first time in his long life, he began to understand what it felt like to be prey, and strangely, he also began to understand why the humans had fought so hard. They weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for everyone who had ever been afraid. The apex predators of the galaxy had been overthrown. But what would take their place? The final battle was not what anyone expected. It happened not in space but on the surface of Vorthak Prime, in the great arena where War Prime Grixthor had once watched captured enemies fight for his entertainment. Fleet Admiral Sora Bay stood across from the defeated alien leader. She was a tall woman with steady eyes and scars on her hands from years of fighting. Around them, representatives from dozens of species watched in silence. This moment would decide the future of the galaxy. You wanted single combat, Sora said, to Grixthor. Here I am. Grixthor looked older than his 800 years. The mighty predator who had once terrorized star systems now seemed broken and tired, but his red eyes still held pride. I do not understand you humans, he said. You have won. Your fleets surround my world. My empire has fallen. Why do you give me this chance to die with honor? Sora picked up a simple metal rod from the weapons table. Grixthor chose his traditional claws and acid spitters. The arena fell quiet. Because that's who we are, Sora replied. We fight our enemies, but we don't become monsters to defeat monsters. The fight was quick, but brutal. Grixthor was bigger and stronger, but Sora was faster and smarter. When he swung his massive claws, she dodged and struck back. When he tried to corner her, she used his size against him. But the real victory was not in the fighting. It was in what happened next. Grixthor fell to his knees, bleeding from several wounds. His weapon lay broken on the arena floor. Sora stood over him with her rod raised, ready for the killing blow that everyone expected. Instead, she threw down her weapon. I yield, she said. The arena exploded in confusion. Grixthor stared up at her in shock. What are you doing? You won. You must kill me. That is the law of combat. Whose law? Sora asked. Your law. The law that says the strong must always destroy the weak? We're making new laws now. She extended her hand to help the fallen alien stand up. You fought with honor. You accepted defeat. That's enough. Grixthor looked at her hand for a long moment. In his culture, showing mercy to a defeated enemy was considered weakness. But as he thought about everything that had happened, he began to understand that humans saw things differently. Slowly, carefully, he took her hand and stood. I don't understand, he said. Why spare me? I have killed millions of your people. I destroyed worlds. I showed no mercy to anyone. Because someone has to break the cycle, Sora answered. For 2,000 years, this galaxy has been ruled by fear. The strong kill the weak. The weak become strong and kill others. It never ends. We're ending it. Ambassador Jin Young Quan stepped forward. He was a small man with a gentle voice, but his words carried the weight of the entire human government. War Prime Grixthor, he said formally, on behalf of the Human Confederation and our allies, I offer you and your people the Terran protocols. What are these protocols? A new way to live. You will give up your weapons of war. You will learn to grow food instead of hunting other species. You will work with us to build something better than an empire. Grixthor's remaining war leaders shifted nervously. Some of them wanted to reject the offer and fight to the death. Others were tired of endless war and violence. "And if we refuse?" asked war leader Vrextal, Grixthor's oldest advisor. Jin Young looked sad. "Then you will die. Not because we want to kill you, but because you will destroy yourselves. Your empire is already falling apart. Your people are fighting each other. Without our help, your species will go extinct within 50 years. Dr. Seok Jin Lim had studied the Vorthak psychology for 3 years now. He understood that they were trapped by their own nature. They could only think in terms of predator and prey, hunter and hunted. Without enemies to fight, they would turn on each other. But there is another choice, continued Jin Young. Learn to be guardians instead of predators. Use your strength to protect others instead of eating them. Become partners in building a better galaxy. Around the arena, representatives from other species waited to hear Grixthor's answer. The blue-skinned Zephyrians watched with their large eyes full of hope. The crystal-bodied silicates hummed with nervous energy. Even the plant-like Verdans swayed anxiously in their pots. All of them had been victims of the Vorthak Empire. All of them had every right to demand revenge, but they were following humanity's example of mercy and justice. Grixthor looked around at these faces, species he had hunted and eaten and destroyed. Now they were offering him a chance to live among them as an equal. "I have a question," he said to Sora. "Why do you trust us? How do you know we won't just pretend to agree and then attack you when you're not ready?" Sora smiled. "Because we'll be watching, and because we're not going anywhere. Humans are here to stay. We're the new apex predators of this galaxy. But we don't hunt for food," added Dr. Seok Jin. "We hunt threats to peace. We hunt tyrants and bullies. We hunt anyone who tries to bring back the old ways." "You hunt hunters," said Grixthor, finally understanding. "Exactly. We're predators who prey on predators. That makes us something new in this galaxy." The ceremony that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Species that had been enemies for millennia signed agreements to work together. The Vorthak military was disbanded, but individual Vorthak were offered jobs as security, guards and peacekeepers under human supervision. Some Vorthak chose to leave the galaxy entirely, seeking new hunting grounds in distant space, but most decided to stay and learn new ways to live. The hardest part was teaching them to grow food instead of hunting for it. Admiral Yujin Kang personally oversaw the agricultural projects on former Vorthak worlds. She found it interesting to watch 12-foot-tall predators learning to tend gardens. "It's strange," said one young Vorthak named Kasara to her human teacher. "I always thought plants were just decoration. I never knew they could feed us." Her teacher, a farmer named Bongsu Park, laughed. "Plants fed us for thousands of years before we learned to hunt. Maybe it's time your people went back to the beginning too." The real test came 6 months later, when pirates attacked a peaceful trading colony in the Outer Rim. These pirates weren't Vorthak, but members of a species called the Ravagers who had been hiding while the Empire ruled the galaxy. The call for help came to the new Galactic Defense Force, which was mostly human ships with crews from many different species. But the first ships to respond were Vorthak vessels commanded by former war leaders. "This is War Leader Vrextal," came the message from the lead ship. "We are responding to the distress call from Colony 7 Alpha." "Acknowledged, Vrextal," replied Human Command. "What are your intentions?" There was a pause. Then Vrextal's voice came back, sounding strange. "We intend to protect the innocent. We intend to stop those who would prey on the weak. We intend to be the guardians we should have been all along." The battle was swift and decisive. The Ravager pirates expected easy prey but instead found themselves facing former Vorthak warriors who fought not to conquer but to protect. When it was over, Vrextal sent another message to Human Command. "Colony 7 Alpha is secure. The pirates have been captured alive for trial. No civilians were harmed." "Good work, War Leader. Return to base." "Actually," said Vrextal, "I think I should change my title. War Leader seems wrong for what I do now. Maybe Guardian Leader would be better." Admiral Yujin smiled as she listened to the conversation. The transformation was working. Slowly, carefully, the galaxy's most feared predators were becoming its most dedicated protectors. Years passed. The Terran protocols became the foundation of a new galactic civilization. Humans took their place as the apex species not through conquest, but through leadership. They showed other races that strength could be used to protect instead of destroy. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear. Markets flourished. Art and science advanced faster than ever before. Species that had hidden for centuries emerged to share their knowledge and culture. But humans never forgot the lesson of the Vorthak Empire. Power without restraint led to tyranny. Strength without wisdom led to destruction. So they built safeguards into their new civilization. Never again became the motto of the Galactic Defense Force. Never again will the strong prey on the weak. Never again will fear rule the stars. And in the great archives on Earth, scholars recorded the story of how humanity had faced the galaxy's apex predators and won not by becoming like them, but by showing them a better way to live. The predators had claimed invincibility. They had believed they ruled forever, but they had never faced a species that chose when to be predators and when to be protectors. In the end, the greatest strength was not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to know when not to use that ability. Humanity had become the new apex, predators of the galaxy. But they were predators with a conscience, hunters with hearts, warriors who fought only to protect the peace they had built. The stars had never been safer.